Welcome back, welcome back. Hope that last video didn't upset anybody. You know, I only say what I say because it's about that time, man. Not afraid to show myself. Not afraid to be wrong. That's how you end up being right. See, when you're wrong, you're not afraid to show yourself. Someone will correct you. Someone will say something. And if you're wrong, you know what I mean? And you have enough grown man in you, or a grown woman in you, you'll accept that flaw and you'll listen to what the person says, or you'll find out how to, get that information so you can correct it. So I suggest more people don't worry about being right all the time. Don't hurt people's feelings or make yourself extra emotional, because, you just waste a lot of time like that anyway. That's what I've been learning. And I feel good. I mean, when I first started this journey again, I was like, man, I can't wait to get back on my feet. The Lord brought me back to Jersey, somewhere I actually know I can know people and see people. I said, yeah, it's gonna be fun. Cause I figure, he ain't done with me. Because it still allows me to breathe. That's how you know when the Lord's done with you. And I was just wondering, what is going to be the story here? What's going to be the adventure here? What am I going to learn? And oh man, when I say I've been learning a lot of things that I've already knew, but I guess the final steps, because I keep saying these things, you could learn one thing, right? But there's levels to it, because things like patience, you gotta learn to have patience, right? But at the same time, if you have too much patience, you're not gonna get shit done. If you don't have enough patience, you're gonna charge into stuff. And that's gonna fuck up your whole situation. And that could be how you handle your job. That could be how you handle your conversations. Patience goes into everything. And balance is the key to all of this shit in life. Everybody strives to do better or want to. You know what I mean? We all may not know the steps, or some of us don't have the push in ourselves to start taking those steps. But it could be done, you know what I mean? And I'm not talking, you could be rich and famous, and no, you can not be homeless and hurting. You can have good relationships, and the getting rich thing, having money is not what people think it is. It's really a problem. I thought I wanted to be rich, right? So, like everybody else, so I could have things. And the more I realize and grow and actually talk to rich people, every time he made me move to another state, I always ran into somebody that owned their own business, or just some rich guy. And they all had the same type of stories of yeah, this shit is dope. You get to do whatever you want when you have free time, which they never really do. And it's dope to know that you're gonna be able to your kids ain't gotta grow up poor and all these different things. But some of them that I met, they kids ain't gonna be shit. They're spoiled brats. The father knows it, and he's like, I hope they even live past like 30 because they have enough access and enough money. If they get hooked on drugs, they're done. And I know it. They're not working hard now. I don't know how to make them work hard because they didn't come from where I came from. So they just have. And I was like, that's crazy because that's why every man starts to live his dreams and be rich. So one day your kid can take over and follow in your footsteps and shit. And when I seen all these men either have kids that ain't gonna follow in their footsteps and they're gonna go their own way, which is a good thing if they go their own way, but we want somebody to take over for us after we're gone. And then other ones, their kids are like they're junkies or they're fucking just misguided and they're not gonna take over at all. The company's gonna get dissolved into whoever else can run it. Other guys I met, like when I was real young, I met this banker guy. He used to own a cash checking place, and my girlfriend used to work for him. And he used to always have these fancy Christmas parties because he was a millionaire. And since I was like poor and didn't like being around all the rich people, I wouldn't go. And one year, my girlfriend convinces me to go to a Christmas party. And I was young. I was fucking probably like 20-something years old. Coming up projects, I ain't know nothing really about dressing up and all of this. Like I knew about it, but it ain't make me feel comfortable. So it was like some real shit. We had to go to New York, limoed up. You had to get the suit and tie on, everything. Fanciest restaurant I've ever fucking been in. When you're paying $200 for one steak, you're like, whoa, shit. So I'm chilling, and I see this guy walk in. He got a blue shirt on, regular blue, little button down here with some jeans on. And I'm like, the fuck? Who this nigga? Why the fuck he get to dress regular? I came in this monkey suit. Everybody else in this motherfucker got suits on, all types of dope shits, regular shits. Who the fuck this dude? He comes, sits down at the head of the table. I'm like, oh, that's that dude. So I'm like in my mind, like, wait up. How he gonna make me come out here dressed all all fancy, and then he come here like he ain't even a millionaire. He's dressed like he was a regular dude. And I was like, yo, I respect that. So I went over to talk to him and say hi, thank you, appreciate, inviting us out and all that. Appreciate you for the things you do. Like, you know what I mean? He used to hook his employees up a lot, and my girl worked for him, so I would benefit off that. And as we were talking and stuff, I'm telling him like, yeah, man, I'm not really from this side of life. I'm from the lower side of life. I don't know nothing about this. I don't even know what to order. Because I don't know what none of this stuff is. These are fancy names I never fucking seen before. He said, listen, man, just get the steak because it's the most expensive and it's good. I'm paying for anything and anything you want. Just go get whatever you want. And I suggest you get the ribeye steak, which has become my favorite steak since I was fucking back then. And he's like, it's the best steak, blah blah. He's explaining it and all this dope stuff, and I'm just like sitting there observing him and like, yo, this is. I thought rich people were like not like that when I was young. I thought snobby and all that. Like he was like casual. He was respectful. and upstanding, but he wasn't a snobby, I'm better than you like asshole guy. He was like, no, I'm rich and it don't change who I am. So he starts telling me, like, yeah, man, I like your girl. She's a very good worker, blah, blah, blah. You're a lucky man, he tells me. And I'm like, what you mean? He goes, cuz she talks about you all the time and stuff. Like, you wouldn't believe how much she talks about you every day. All she does is talk about you. Every time I go in there, I walk by and I hear them talking, and she's always talking about you, either good, bad, whatever, but you're always on her mind. And that's hard for a man to do. I'm a millionaire, and I don't have women. I've never met a woman that loved me like that. He's like, that girl's in love with you. Love is the most important thing a man can ever really get, because it's the hardest thing a man can find, because it doesn't matter if you're rich or not. He tells me, because I'm rich, I know 90% of women that will ever even speak to me is because I'm rich. I could change their life in one day. They don't see me for who I am. They only see the things I could do. And I was like, yo, that dude at that age changed me, and that's what made me develop my character and become more and be like, you got to be stronger in what you are, because this rich guy just told you, even if you get rich one day, nigga, ain't no woman gonna love you because of that. And you already figured it out by being yourself and being real to this chick. So you need to be stronger and make her love you more, and maybe she'll stay. Things didn't work out that way, but I need to grow. And I never let go of that. And he was right. Like, all through my travels and shit, I met many men. And a lot of those dudes that had it all together and everything, they wives and they left. Their girls left, or they just don't have nobody. And then it'd be the regular average guys that, he ain't rich, but he take care of himself, he handles his shit, he's responsible enough to do that. Those guys were the ones locking down the baddest chicks. And I'm like, I used to always be like, yo, this nigga, how you do that? I'm like, damn, you know what I mean? And then I got it. I always reverted back to what that dude said. And I'm like, yo, all right, I see. He probably got some smarts. He knows who he is. He comfortable with it. And he applies himself towards his woman. And he makes her understand. Like, yeah, you probably can go out there and get somebody better. But will he be me? Will he make you feel the way I make you feel? Because all that money shit, once you buy the 50th dress, the 50th Louis Vuitton, this shit it's the same bullshit. And if you ain't really like the dude you were with, well, now you stuck with this bullshit that ain't making you feel nothing. All that happiness is gone after that, because that's fake happiness. And you gotta deal with the dude that you with. That's why these rich... The rich guys and the widows, the cheating wives and the pool boys and the fucking, you know what I mean? Like, we all hear these stories, we all see the movies. And it's because of these situations. Being a man and obtaining a relationship is like literally the highest thing for a man. And that's why you gotta learn so much. That's why you have to do so much. And it's not even about doing so much for the other person. No, you have to build yourself. You have to do so much for yourself. You have to become. Because the more you become, the more that's what they love, ultimately. Y'all think it's all this money. No woman don't want no super broke dude. But if y'all watch I erased that video. I met homeless dudes that have girlfriends and they're getting them pregnant and shit. So when you have a job and a car and shit and you're not getting no type of relationships, come on, man. You telling me a homeless guy got more game? Or did he just realize, like, all right, I can't get other chicks that are regular, so I'm going to see this homeless chick like me on my level, and I'm going to settle for that, because that's where I'm at. I'm not settling. I'm getting what I am. If you're not getting nothing, it's because you're not trying to make yourself anything. Now, besides all of that bullshit, let me go get my coffee. I want to talk about some other things. A lot of decent things are starting to come up, manifest, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? I call it just, working towards what you're good at and figuring it out and just working towards it. Like, I realize why people look at like spiritual stuff, like books and stuff like that, like all hocus pocus or unbelievable. It's because the way they explain everything, the words they use, make it sound like you can't do it. It always makes shit sound like hard when it's really so simple. And what made me have that thought and that way of thinking is because I learned science like everyone else. I paid attention though. Science intrigued me when I was young, even though I couldn't fucking spell any of the words, and I just understood the shit. I don't know why. I just like it. I think it's that Aquarius side of me. Because Aquarius is like to know things. We need to know how shit works. And we will go by any means necessary to figure it out. We don't always need to know exactly. We'll figure it out. It's weird how we figure shit out. So, shut that stupid shit up. So it's like the science. When you start seeing these things about science that talk about life, and you see them break it down, right? It makes you see it easy. Like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. Because a man's saying it, and he's saying it real simple in words that can make your mind think in a simple way. Because it's the words they're using. But the Bible said all of this stuff. All the books that have to do with spirituality and all these different things, all of that stuff is the same shit. They're just using other words, and we don't come from that time. So when we hear these words, we're like, oh, we hear manifest and shit. Or mental alchemy. Or meditating. Like, meditating ain't doing nothing but sitting the fuck down and thinking. And being honest with yourself. Once you sit down and think long enough, you realize the problems you're having in your life. Once you realize the problems you're having in your life, that's where they tell you to start calming yourself down and not think. And just focus. Which, I played that video for you where it's about how they tell you to do things that's impossible. How the fuck do you just sit down and not think? It's impossible. You can't just sit there and not think. You'd have to be dead. Something's going to come into your head. As soon as you close your eyes, the blackness comes. You enter your mind. You're gonna think of things. What meditation is, and why they make you focus on the impossible task of not thinking, is because they know, like I've been trying to teach you, is someone's been telling you you're a loser. You've heard you can't do this, you can't do that. You've heard and been told there's rules and regulations and all of this, and that shit stifles you. So when you meditate and figure out things and realize that there are boundaries, but there are boundaries that are meant to be pushed, there's limits that are meant to be, it's like growing a fucking tree. That thing was a seed. That thing used to be able to fit in my hand. And it had to go through some things. And now, that seed keeps me alive with its oxygen. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people don't realize, because they make things sound so hard. people nowadays believe in their minds, if someone tells you something smart and you didn't go to college for it, you don't know what you're talking about, even though you studied longer than motherfuckers that went to school. Like, I remember I wonder when I first got into the faith and I got good, I started remembering everything. And when I started practicing preaching on people and getting good at it, I was like, yo, I'm about to like go to school and become a preacher. I know I'm gonna pass the book, the writing, the memory stuff. I remember all of this stuff. It's the only book I've ever remembered in my whole life. It's the only fucking book I've ever really studied or read in my whole life. And that's what I say, if you want to hide the truth from a black person, put it in a book. Because we won't read it. So when I started learning the faith and memorizing it, I wanted to be a preacher. And I started realizing by reading the Bible says no one can become a preacher without the ordaining of the Lord. And then I realized everyone that's becoming a preacher now doesn't get ordained by the Lord. They get ordained by the government, and you go pass a test, a written test and some verbal test. And when I found out what it takes to, like I said, to pass, I said, oh, that's easy. I can remember I know all that stuff by heart. I'm like, wait up. What about all this other stuff that I know? How come you don't got to remember that? Why? And it clicked in my head. I said, okay, this is how they play the game. And that's when I realized I was screwed, because you people will really only believe somebody that has a piece of paper that says, oh yeah, you're approved by these people, that you studied long enough, even though you only teach 5 verses. 20 pages out of the whole Bible, 50 pages, 100 pages. I can give one lesson about one thing and talk for hours. And that one thing we talk about is going to make me jump all over the Bible. You can't teach nothing about the Bible and not jump around. It tells you this. That when you find out how to really read it and stuff, and how to like get the answers, like, you know, when you come to a question about the Bible because it says one thing and then it sounds like it's contradicting itself, and you're like, fuck, this is bullshit. No, I'll give you a secret. You ever notice when you read the Bible, there's like these little numbers next to things? Certain those certain pages where you get to those questions, and it'll be like, it'll say something, and then it got these little numbers next to it. I used to always wonder what the fuck those numbers meant. Then I found out there were numbers that are pages. And when you read, the Lord knows you're going to get lost. And He knows you're not going to know, because of the way we can't think that well as fast as He can. And we don't understand as well as we think we do. And then you go, it's called, I forgot what they call it. Anyway, like I said, I'm still getting good. When you got to teach yourself and do all these things by yourself and you have no school, you know, you learn. So what you do is you'll read, it'll make you think a question, and then when you see that little numbers under it, near the words or whatever, you go to that page, and then you read that, and that should have your answer for you. And if it doesn't, it's going to happen again, where you get a little understanding, and then you'll see more numbers next to things, and then you go back. And it always ends up going back to Moses and the 10 Commandments. Every question you'll ever have about the Bible will always go back to the 10 Commandments. That's what I figured out. And that's when I stopped studying the Bible for a couple years. And I started studying just the 10 Commandments and how important they really are and how hard it really is to do it. All love.